Today I have with me Abhimanyu. He has been preparing here for CDS written examination as well as for the SSB interview. And while we are going to see how Abhimanyu has prepared for his written part, it will also be a good, valuable input for my viewers that how should they go about preparing for the written part. So Abhimanyu has been preparing for CDS written examination, and CDS, as we all know, is OTA as well as IMA, INA and IF. CDS OTA consists of only two papers, that is English and GS. Both the papers are of 100 marks each, but when you are giving IMA and INA and IF along with it, then you have to give an additional paper, and that's of maths, which is again of 100 marks. So syllabus of CDS is not one which is well described by the UPSC, but when we go through the last year's question papers, we get a lot of inputs how we can give in our best. So we will not talk about what is given in the UPSC syllabus, but today we will talk about how should we prepare for the CDS written examination. And whenever we prepare for a written examination, it's quite natural that we should not go for just passing.
True.
And but we should know what is just passing for this examination. So if we go for, say, OTA, that is Officer Training Academy, which has English as well as GS, the expected passing marks for men is about 95 to 105.
Right.
That means some years it is 95, 100 or 105, yeah, out of 200.
Okay.
And for women it is same, 95 to 105, so out of 200. But for when we look at IMA, the marks required are 120 to 130 out of 300, INA about 120 to 125 out of 300, and for AFA it's 145 to 155. That means for AFA the merit shoots up
Super high.
Yeah, and we have to remember that some students are weak in, say, English or maths. We need to have a minimum cutoff of 20%. That means whether we are talking, sectional cutoff. That is, if we are talking about English, out of 100 we should get minimum 20. And so when we break this off, say, let's talk about OTA. When we break this off, if we know that minimum we got to score 105, that means English paper is 100 marks and GS paper is 100 marks. So what would you say? That how much should we be scoring in English, because GS is not a scoring subject.
True, sir. True.
So if GS is not a scoring subject, then shouldn't we looking at scoring about 70 marks to 80 marks?
For sure. So 70 to 80 goes without saying for English, because see, as we know that GS, comprehending the whole course of GS is a Herculean task for any student, because it's so vast. And you're talking about UPSC, it's practically impossible to cover every bit. Thus, to have an edge over your overall merit marks, it goes without saying that you should aim for a minimum 70 to 80 in English, and it's possible. It's not that you can't shoot that high. It's very much possible to score a 70 and 80 in English.
See, that is the positive part, that we can. If we make a strategy, we know what kind of questions come in English, then we can. So, before I go on to ask you how you are going to go about it, because if you are so sure that you are going to get about 70 to 80 marks in English, then you have a good strategy, and wherever I think that we can do something different, I'll do point it out to you. But general tips. So if I ask you for written examination, somebody who's starting from scratch,
True, sir.
how many months?
6 to 8 months.
6 to 8 months.
6 to 8 months for sure, because now we are not just talking about clearing the cut, because that's the minimum bit, right? We want, see, if we keep our aims high, if we aim for a rank, then cutoff won't be an issue at all. But if we keep aiming for that bare minimum, that we just pass the cut, then it won't really make sense. And I personally believe that if you're going in doing something, you give your best or you don't give anything at all.
I totally agree with you. This is a solid point given by him. That another point, that why 6 to 8 months? Because most of the questions which come in GS are current affairs based.
True.
So unless we have been studying for last 6 to 8 months, the last 6 to 8 months of current affairs related to that paper, whether it's biology, whether it's geography or history, won't be well covered in
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah, so I agree with you. 6 to 8 months is the time that we are looking for. Somebody who has been preparing for some other competitive examination, for example, IS prelims or some bank, they may need a little lesser time.
Yes, because they have been introduced to that whole curriculum, so they know they're already in that routine, right?
Yes.
So they have that rigmarole of doing it every day.
Yes.
Now once they're set into that routine, they have that whole pattern established. It won't be difficult for them to get through the exam.
Agree with you. So we should start strengthening the fundamentals of each subject, and you can accordingly divide your time. Naturally, today we are going to prepare for English, so we'll be mostly talking about English. And after understanding a topic, work out the answers to question related to the topic. First related to the topic, and then go back to previous year question papers.
Most important.
Yeah. So previous year question papers are available in the market. You can buy them. And English and maths are static subjects, and GS is based on current affairs. So I would say for English also you need to put in about 6 months minimum.
For sure.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure.
So of course I'll be asking you how you are going to see to it that some of the questions in English which are most not based on grammar but are based on your usage of language.
True.
How are you going to tackle that?
True.
So from my side I'll tell you, it's very important that you read English newspaper daily and make notes.
For sure, sir, for sure. See
Yeah.
that point that you stated about making notes? The problem is, as we just stated, that it's a 6-month curriculum, right? So 6-month current affairs, you can't expect them to remember just if you read them through.
True.
So once you start making notes, it's like a scientific thing, right? Once you start writing it down, the retention power will automatically increase many folds.
That's true. That's why I agree with you. So write it down. Your English will improve as well as your retention is improving. And while you're approaching the exam, you can quickly brush through your notes. So it helps you both ways. So once the course is complete, then start solving previous year question paper. See, we were solving topic-based question earlier, but now only after completing the full course. Because if you start solving previous year question paper without completing your course, your confidence will come down because you won't be scoring that much.
You'll be intimidated.
Yeah, and when we solve question paper, then we come to know which topic is weak with us. So we can then put in more efforts there, and which topic is better, then we can put. Okay, so preparation of SSB. I mean, you're one of those candidates with us who had started preparing for SSB alongside your preparation for the written examination. So tell me your mindset. Why did you do that? Most of the students prepare both written, first written, and then they go for SSB.
So the fact of the matter is, to eventually get to the academy, I will need to clear both the written and SSB.
Yeah.
So if I have time in my hand, if I can judiciously allocate time to the important things, why not I start preparing for SSB right now? Why? Because my efficiency and effectiveness will automatically increase as I keep preparing for SSB side by side with written. See, the ground reality is that after written, I have to go for SSB. So this approach doesn't really make sense in the long run, that I prepare for my written and then once I'm done with my written, I'd start preparing for my SSB.
True.
Also, sir, while preparing for SSB, like in our classes where we have lecturers, where we have group discussions, it enhances your current affairs knowledge. Why? Because our GDs are mainly centered around current affairs. So we do get a lot of inputs which will, I personally believe, help one in cracking your written exam.
True. I agree. Especially when we do GD and lecture it in the class while preparing for SSB, they will help you towards other examination like CAPF.
True, very true, very true, exactly.
Where you have to write write essays.
Essay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So coming back to the English as such. So today we are going to just focus on English paper. What kind of questions come, how you intend to solve them, and if I have some inputs, I'll of course give it to you. So let's talk about the type of question. So the first type of question which you will encounter in your English paper for CDSE examination is spotting the error. There are about 10 questions on it. So you tell me, how would you go about solving these 10 questions? What is your preparation for these 10 questions?
So I personally believe cracking spotting the errors section one needs to be well versed with the grammar part. That means you need to know your parts of speeches, you need to know your tenses. So your basics of your English language, that's your grammar. If your grammar is strong enough, then you'll be able to comprehend if there's an error or not. Why? Because generally speaking, these sentences are made in such a way that it's very one can get very ambiguous in terms of understanding where the error lies.
Yeah.
But if you know the
because
tense,
they would even include exceptions in it.
yes, they'll intentionally do it. Why? Because they're trying to see who's the best out of the lot, right?
Yes.
So they will try to give you a sentence which might look or might sound very straight or might sound correct.
Yeah.
But in written it won't stand correct. That's why learning the grammar, learning the tenses and learning the rules of speech is very important. Why? Because all of us are habitual, sir, of listening to English.
And then learning.
Yes, and written English is very different from spoken English.
True.
We are in a habit of speaking English in a certain manner where we do end up using the wrong grammar a lot of times.
Agree with you.
But while writing, we cannot afford that, or we lose upon marks. Thus, it's integral to know your parts of speeches and tenses. Sir.
True. So coming back to next type of question, and that is ordering of words in a sentence. Once again, there are 10 questions on it. So how would you go about ordering of words in a sentence and ordering of sentences? There are 10 questions on ordering of sentences also.
True.
So how would you go about solving those?
So personally, I felt in context of ordering of sentences or ordering of words, the game changer is your analytical skill.
Yes.
And the methodology to enhance your analytical skills is, I personally feel, solving old question papers. Why?
True.
Because you get a hang of what pattern are these guys using, especially with arranging, rearranging words and sentences. Why? Because you tend to understand what is falling into place correctly once you start solving a lot of previous year question papers. So I think for ordering of words and sentences, previous year's question papers.
So now we have covered nearly 30 questions now. We started with grammar. We started solving questions of ordering the sentence type of questions so that our analytical abilities improve.
True.
And we are able to do much better. Then comes fill in the blanks. Once again, there are 10 questions on it. So how would you go about solving fill in the blanks?
Same strategy which I used for current affairs, sir, is reading your newspapers.
Okay.
So I have this habit inculcated by you that one needs to go through the editorial section daily.
Yeah.
And what happens is, sir, once you start reading editorial sections written by such acclaimed authors, you tend to understand what word will fall into the right place.
Okay.
Once you start reading these viewpoint given editorials, like I use Hindu, the Hindu, now the language is so high that you start inculcating that language in your daily vocab. So, you might start using sentences which sound better rather than just using the ordinary word, and that's what happens in fill in the blanks. What they try to do is they will try to give you a complicated sentence, but what word should be used, you'll start understanding once you start reading the news.
So basically what we are talking about is appropriate word should be used in that sentence.
Absolutely correct, sir.
Unless we write down things which we are reading from the newspaper in our copy, they won't get. So whenever we get time, we write meaning of difficult words.
Mm-hmm.
Our vocab is increasing.
True.
And once we start doing it for 4 months, 5 months, there we are. Yeah.
We will reach a level too, sir.
So now let's come to complete the sentences. So there is once again 10 questions are based on complete the sentences. Now, is it a different strategy for complete sentences?
So not very different, sir. It's basically again centering down to learning the correct usage of English language.
Okay.
So I personally, what I do is I have this habit of watching a lot of documentaries, which are generally based on historical subjects or war. I mean, I'm a big war monger, so I love watching all these war films. So what I do is once you start listening again, one is your reading perception, one is your audiovisual perception. So for reading perception, I feel it's again the same thing, so you prefer the newspaper. And also you start watching documentaries, so you start understanding the correct usage of English language.
Okay.
You'll be able to raise this section.
Okay, so usage of English language and reading both will help. Usage will be more through, say, watching English news on TV or documentaries, which will both enhance your knowledge, improve your perception as well as your English. Let's come to a totally different kind of question in the English question paper in the CDS, and that is practical usage of knowledge of part of speech. There are 10 questions based on that. So anything different here or the same structure?
So the one which we used for spotting the errors,
Okay.
you need to have your rules of tenses, rules of speeches by heart learned.
Okay.
Once you understand that, you will be able to comprehend this section. Nothing else. Just do your basic reading and remember your rules of grammar.
I agree with you. Here, nothing much has changed. Basically, usage. How much we use. And here, I would like to give a small little tip because there are a lot of students in our class, especially in the written class for CDS. They say we do not get an environment where we can use English. Now, I have a suggestion for them. Instead of looking for an environment where everybody is English speaking, why not make it a habit that whatever you think, you'll think it in English.
True.
Our mother tongue is Hindi. So the first thought in your mind will come, it will be in Hindi. Quickly convert it into English. It may not be correct as per grammar, but you will start creating an environment in your head
Around you. Makes sense. Makes sense.
that you are always converting Hindi sentences into English.
True, sir.
So slowly, within a week, you will get into this habit. Whatever you think. First thought will come in Hindi, but it will take you a fraction of a second to convert it into English, but do it. Coming to the one last type of question which come in the English paper in the CDS examination, and that is comprehensions. There are 2 comprehension passages, 10 questions on it. So how do you intend to solve those 10 questions?
So personally speaking, this is my favorite section.
Okay.
I love doing this section. So what strategy I have always applied up till now is, it all basically depends on your analytical skills.
Yeah.
And what I realized is, so once you start solving again the previous year question papers, you start getting a hang of how they are framing the questions out of the passage. Because they'll never directly ask you a question. They'll always ask your interpretations. Like they'll give you a word and then they'll ask you, what does it mean? Or they'll give you a sentence and they'll say, what is the author trying to communicate? So again, it's more of reading, more of analytical skills. So solve your previous question papers, newspaper reading, and just bank on the analytical skills.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is the correct way to go. Just remember that if you read a passage which you have already read before, still go through the passage very carefully because you cannot rely on your previous memory.
True.
And I would suggest that once you read the full passage, second time come back again and read it slowly. Then let's talk about idioms and phrases. There are 10 questions on that. You will have to mug up most of the idioms and phrases and their meaning because there's no way out. And the next type is synonyms and antonyms. There are 20 questions. You've already been writing meaning of words to improve your vocab. So I think this part, synonym and antonym, should not be a problem. So I think with that, we come to the whole paper as such. That should give us about, out of 100, about 70 to 80 marks.
For sure, sir.
And here the chances of making a wrong answer is there. So unless your grammar is good, please do not start solving it.
True.
Topic wise, go with your grammar questions and then I think we'll be good.
True, sir.
So I think we'll end this video here.
For sure, sir.
And we'll come out with another video on maths, and I think for GS we'll need 2 to 3 videos.
True, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Perfect, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.